Good morning, Facebook, YouTube subscribers, family, and friends. Today is Monday, March 18th, is 2013 is the year. This weekend, I had a great weekend here in Atlanta. Hung out with some friends, and I went to two events, one on Saturday where I filmed two TV talk shows, and they will be shown in early April. And on Sunday, I spent the afternoon with a group of guys discussing black gay relationships. The interesting part about this weekend and these discussions I had with these guys on Saturday and Sunday, the majority of the topics were about black gay relationships. But one thing that concerned me, that there were several guys who kept trying to compare their black gay relationship to a heterosexual relationship, like their parents or relatives or their grandparents. And I think when you try to compare a black gay relationship between two men or two women, you're making a huge fatal error if you are trying to compare those relationships to a gay relationship to a heterosexual relationship between a man and a woman. Totally different parameters, totally different situation. You just cannot compare the two. And if you try to pattern your relationship after a heterosexual relationship, I just firmly believe that you will be creating a situation that will unfortunately cause severe damage to your relationship. You just cannot take a relationship between two men and compare it to your parents' relationship. You can't even attempt to say, well, my mom did this and my dad did that. I mean, it's just a totally different situation. And I always kind of look back at my own personal relationship with Earl. And I had to learn very quickly that he was a man, I was a man, and the first thing I learned is I could not tell a grown man what he could or could not do. I had to let that man live his life, doing whatever he wanted to do, and I also had to do the same with my own life. And that's very important because when you're dealing with two men, a lot of these guys don't want to lose their identity of who they are. And a lot of these guys just don't want nobody telling them what to do. If you're going to be in a gay relationship, you just cannot, especially in a male-to-male relationship, you cannot go into that relationship thinking that just because you're partners, this person you can control or attempt to tell a grown individual how he should or should not live his life. In many instances, you have to let that person live their life and deal with whatever issues arise from whatever their actions are, wherever that might be. When you have two men in a relationship and you don't have kids, these relationships, it takes a much longer period of time for a lot of men to grow up and mature. So when you're in these relationships and you're dealing with another man, maturity plays such a key part of it because some of these guys are so immature, well into their 30s and 40s, they still think they're 22. It can be a problem. But you can't make that person grow up. They have to grow up on their own. They have to mature and come to terms with situations that are taking place in their lives and in your relationship on their own. You just can't wave a magic wand and make them understand and see this. In heterosexual relationships, many people marry in their 20s, early 30s, they have kids. It creates a different environment to mature faster because now you have responsibilities. There really are no responsibilities in gay relationships unless there are children involved from a previous relationship, or you've adopted some kids. So when you begin comparing your relationship to that of your parents obviously had kids, jobs, a different world, the heterosexual world, without all the issues that come with living in the homosexual community. That's a big word, ain't it? Living in the homosexual community can be a trip. You got to deal with these gay guys and the issues that they bring into your relationship, your friends, the clubs. It's just a totally different environment. And when I hear so many people compare or attempt to compare their relationship to a heterosexual relationship, I just shake my head. I try to say, look, you can't do that. You're dealing with a totally different world. That's like comparing apples and literally oranges. It's just a totally different environment. And if you're trying to pattern your relationship after what your parents did, your relationship is just going to fail. It's going to be a disaster. It's not going to last. And it's going to be a painful disaster for you. Let that man, take this advice from my heart to you guys. I think a lot of you guys misunderstand me sometimes. But what I'm trying to say is, when you're in a gay relationship with another man, let that man be a man. Let him do what he wants to do. If he want to go out and hang in a club and you don't want to go to the club, let him go. If he wants to go out and get drunk, drinking and driving, you can't worry about him. He knows the consequences of drinking and driving. If he kills somebody out there or injures somebody, that's on him. You can't sit up all night calling his phone, wondering where he's at. Are you still at the club? Are you drinking? Are you hanging with your friends? You just can't stress yourself out about those type of situations. You can't wonder where he is and what he's doing. Is he sleeping with some man? You can't. How can you control this stuff? You would want to be in a relationship with somebody that at least is mature and can pick up the phone and call you from time to time and say, well, I'm over here at Walmart now. I'm here. We just left the club. We at IHOP. I'm still with my friends. But I find that most guys do not do that. And you will I used to raise hell like, why didn't you call me and update me where you were? Because I was concerned. And I quickly realized it ain't going to happen. That man's going to do what he wants to do. In fact, by me asking him to give me an update and call me, it made the situation worse, because now he felt like he was checking in, like all of a sudden I'm his father. I had to let that shit go. When he was gone, I didn't call him. I didn't ask where he was. I didn't ask where he was going. I didn't ask where he had been. I really didn't care at that point, because you have to let a grown person be a grown person. Now, the same applies to my mother. I don't ask my mother where she's at, where she's going, where she's been. I don't ask my brothers and sisters that. You got to look at it in that type of frame. This is a grown person. If you want your relationship to last and you're not stressed out, you're not stressing that person out, you have to let that person live their life. Regardless of whether what they're doing, you like it or not. If it's so bad and you don't like it, then you may need to leave the relationship. If something's going on so horrible, I don't know what that could be. Is he out robbing banks or something? I don't know. But if something's so horrible, then you need to let that individual go. But if it's not so bad, and it's just a question of where they're at, if they're at the club, or this person's just a person who just want to do what they want to do, then, let it slide. Let that man be a man. Let him go roam the city and do whatever he wants to do. Even if you're uncomfortable with that, then you may have to leave the relationship. I don't sit around wondering, and I would never. I did in the past when I was much younger, but I don't do that anymore. If I'm in a relationship with somebody and they get up and say they're going to the grocery store, I take that, you going to the grocery store. Now, I know you went to the grocery store at 1 o'clock to get some eggs and milk, but you ain't got back to midnight. You must have drove down to Miami to get them eggs and milk, but I'm not going to say anything. Unless there was some event we had planned to go to a movie or something, or I wanted to do something with you, and here you are out grocery shopping. Yeah. Let them go. I mean, when you're in a relationship for a long period of time with somebody, especially male-to-male relationship, yeah, some men want to go out and have a free day by themselves. And they don't know how to turn to you and say, well, I'm going to be hanging with my friends for the next 16 hours. What? Then they're just going the excuse is always, oh, I'm going to go to the mall. I'm going to the grocery store. I'll be back later. Let them go. You cannot, I know I'm kind of covering a lot of ground here, but these were some of the issues that I saw last night at these Saturday and Sunday at these two events that I attended and talked about relationships. And a lot of these guys are so young, 24, 25, 26, and they have these thoughts in their minds about a relationship, even though they've never been in a relationship, or they've had very small relationships. And they have, and I saw that these guys were not open to listening. They didn't want to hear it. They've made up their minds at 23, 24, 25. And I said, we need to come back and have this conversation in about 20 years. I'll come on out the retirement home and come on over there and say, now, because in 20 years I should be, 60, I'll be 63. Hopefully I'm in some nice retirement home with views of Miami, I guess. I don't know. But I'd have to drive back up to Atlanta and meet with these clowns and say, okay, now, what happened over the past 20 years? Because you didn't want to listen to me 20 years ago. I just find it very odd that you're sitting in a room, all these young guys, you got guys my age, 41, 42, 43, 44, 50 years of age who've been in the game for a long time trying to explain this stuff to these niggas, and they didn't want to hear anything we had to say because they're too busy arguing about what their parents did and what happened with their parents. Your parents are not gay. Your parents are not in a gay relationship. Why are you comparing your parents' relationship or relationships you've seen by heterosexuals to your gay relationship? You can't do it. Don't do it. It's going to be a disaster. And it is very well the reason why a lot of these guys are single. I learned in the early 90s, I could not compare my relationships to that of my parents. It was crazy to think so. You can't do it. It just does not work. I was surprised at how these guys just refused to listen. Sad. Well, this video is a little bit longer than I wanted it to be, but I wanted to get some of that stuff out. And I'm going to talk some more about some of the stuff we discussed at these meetings. And I was kind of disappointed, like I said, with these younger guys. And the older guys seemed to have their act somewhat together. There were some things some of the older guys said that I was kind of, well, I'm going to discuss that also. But guys, be open-minded. If somebody's been in a relationship for a long period of time, I think you should need to listen to that person, especially if you have not had a relationship or you can't get a relationship to last past 12 months. The average relationship this weekend, there was one guy who'd been in a relationship for 5 years. He's been single for the past 10 years now. Most of those guys were in relationships a year to 2 years to maybe 3 years, and they thought they had figured it all out. I'm thinking, you're still in the honeymoon phase. You ain't got to the problems yet. You hang around. And see, that's when the shit starts to hit the fan, those relationships crash and burn because you're not ready to deal with the real issues that are ahead. And there will be some issues. But anyway, if you like my videos, guys, click like on my videos. Give me some feedback from today's topic. I have to go to this tag office and spend my next 16 hours trying to get a tag for my damn car. This is the second time I'm getting a tag for it. My birthday's coming up. So now I have to get another tag for my car, update this tag. So I'm going to see how this plays out. I just got a tag for this car I purchased in November. I got a tag in January or February. So now I got to go back and do it for my birthday. So I'm prepared to go up there and sit all day and see what happens. Anyway, you guys have a great day. Give me some feedback from today's topic. Should you compare your gay relationship to that of your heterosexual parents or to straight folks in general, a heterosexual relationship? Have a great day, guys.